Go ahead and start the June 16th, 2025 Commissioners meeting. Start with pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with the approval of minutes for the June 2nd, 2025 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Approval of claims. We'll do
Accounts payable, I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable claims.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Dusty, you're up.
Okay, so, go ahead.
If you've gone through the payroll claims and applied with my last problem. I'll make a motion to approve the payroll claims as presented.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Dusty,
So Mount Sterling, we replaced the sign post hit by a car or a truck. Been mowing roadside, spraying vegetation control in District 2 and 3. We patched the potholes on Kelly Road on the low water crossings. Been burning the new blacktops in District 1. Ditches were cleaned out in Pleasant Township. We pulled the fire extinguisher equipment for annual inspections. Missing stop signs, road signs was replaced on Seymour Road. Employees are training on the new mini excavator. Hauling, spreading gravel on the roads in District 2. The new mechanic finished the repairs on the new paint striper. The new mechanic swapping equipment from our old ambulance to our new for what we use for a service ambulance. We replaced culverts on Kennett Road with repair for paving. Working on estimates for repair Evans Hill from semi damage. Bridge 13 is finished, waiting final inspection by FPBH. And I have our new bridge inspection contract signed. You all look at prices for the bridge inspection.
Yes. Yes, aye.
What you hear on the last one, third goes. Basically, this is our total contract. Okay, that percentage of space goes.
It'll be false.
what we need to do.
Just approve
So that's our,
contract.
the contract we approved the other day for bridge inspections. That's our actual contract we sent into the state. They approved it as well. So now we just need the commissioner's signature.
And then Garrett has seen this.
No, he has not. Seen it. If you want, it's like,
Yes.
but remember the one we passed last
Yeah.
week?
Okay.
That, this is just signed now after the state.
Okay.
But I believe Garrett looked at it when we approved it last.
Is this part of the asset management plan?
Yes.
So we have to have it anyway in order to qualify for community crossing,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And then not to go too deep into it, how does the will tax that goes through affect
Community crossing.
So that's me good.
Yeah, so there's X million, hundred million, I believe it is, that gets dispersed regardless. So, okay, then there's an additional 50 million that if counties don't have will tax, when they get dispersed, our county won't get that, their portion of that 50 million. Does that sound
Yeah.
accurate to you?
So it's in a prayer.
Well, yeah, it really is. Unfortunately, but yeah.
And the highway will get money off the wheel tax as well.
Yes,
And then we'll get an additional money from the state if we have a wheel tax. Nobody knows what that money will be, if you don't know how many counties you got.
Right.
It's based on your center line miles, so Cushman County has 700 some lane miles, 300 some center line miles. So they base your allocation or your portion off your actual lane miles.
So this could be used for anything under your umbrella. Equipment, roads, bridges.
Well, yeah, we'd have.
Well, the portion,
Remember what funds go.
yeah, the portion that comes through the BMV, I believe that to be correct. The guy that knows everything's here now, so. Yeah,
Indian.
but the community
Crossing,
crossing
I
part,
was just asking a general question.
Yeah, I did something similar for the council, and there was some confusion. I think I've got cleared up with NDOT. So nothing is changing procedurally with, except for dropping from 1.5 million to 1 million on the community crossings grant. That, we did drop it from 25% match to 20% match, but you don't need a wheel tax to do what you're already doing. We did expand the use, so now you don't have to do bridges and roads. You can also do, low water crossings, if that's something that you guys want. Those can be a little cheaper to replace those instead of doing a bridge. There's an additional pot of money that is automatic with the wheel tax. So if you do any amount of the wheel tax, it gets you the wheel tax match from the state, which is proportional to everyone else that has a wheel tax imposed as well, based on lane miles. If you're saying that, which Switzerland County is around 700 something. So that is automatic every year, starting in 27. So the discrepancy in timing, as I'm being told by NDOT, the author of the bill, everyone says to have it imposed by 26 to get it in 27. There was some discrepancy at a conference where highway engineers were advised they had to have it done this year. Everyone is telling me from NDOT that it's 26 when it has to be done before, because you're not going to get any money until 27. And the wheel tax, there's two separate ones. One applies to different types of vehicles, more heavy machinery, that sort of thing. And the other is your passenger vehicles. Both have to be imposed to impose the wheel tax. That's high level.
but even the secondary, well, didn't they also change it from 2 calls to 1?
One call, but it's 1 million total.
Right.
That's the, yeah.
And then also the 50 or the, it's not the 100 million that that states always distribute, right?
Yeah.
The portion covered by the wheel tax are the same guidelines, CCMG community crossings guidelines apply to, I know you said they added low water crossing, but is there any other exceptions?
Not that I'm aware of
Kind of
off the top of my head.
Joe's question.
Not that I'm aware of off the top of my head. I haven't looked into, and I know that there was a question at the council meeting that I need to answer on the wheel tax, is its application to, buggies. So one of the councilmen brought up
Right.
whether or not it applies there. I've not gotten the answer to that yet. There are some folks
So-
that are the engineers.
I mean, logically thinking, the buggies are county ordinance, not paid through the BMV. The wheel tax is,
So they're not a B&B vehicle?
no,
They don't.
paid through out of the
Yeah.
county ordinance where they're required. But we don't enforce it, so we can increase it as much as we want, but if you don't enforce it, you're not gonna get any additional funds as a result of the increase.
You just answered the question for me. If they're not a county, because these are all, you pay the wheel tax when you
Get your license.
you want to get your license plate. That's when that wheel tax.
Said that during the council meeting, I don't think.
Okay, yeah, I didn't hear you.
You know,
We've only sold 14, so
you know what fund that would have actually go in, what it said in this, 73 or.
Fun questions are best served for Gail, because
I haven't read anything where there has to be a special fund set up for that, but.
No, I think it goes one or the other, but that was what the question was, if we, but. Depending on which fund,
Yeah, that's fine.
which I'm gonna assume.
my suspicion is it'll be just like your CCNG funds, and it'll go towards roads. Probably not this year. Just off the cuff, you know.
And then I noticed where project towards Rising Sun was being moved down the road.
Yeah.
Today, so that frees up, Evans Hill a little bit. Because I think we'll be able to get up North Branch now.
Well, supposedly when the state first talked on that, you wouldn't be able to access North Branch at all, to fix that stretch at the North Branch. But I don't know. There's been a lot of hours paid, and they go set it up.
All right, is that it?
That's it.
Start with, old business, Teresa, no? If you look at it,
Yeah, I'm in that.
I'll check your name. Hold on, so let's wait for Dusty to get, sorry.
That's all right. All right.
So the property with, in the land development,
Okay.
the way I was reading it, that property or that road was put in before the property was purchased.
Yes, so.
Did you get this, I'm just asking, did you get this on a tax sale?
No,
So. From what I've looked at,
we bought it in 08, 09.
this first picture here, this is our GIS mapping from 2005. And it shows the road in the same place. And then, so this is,
She bought a property and,
yeah, you wouldn't,
there's a road going through that piece of property. Her stance is the road was put in after the property was purchased, right?
What's the name of the road?
It was blacktop.
North Drive, the corner of Beach Street, North Drive. So she was saying that this road got moved after she bought the property and then it was blocked off.
It was blacktop after the fact. It was gravel around it before.
So I went back to our 2005, thinking this shows the road in some point. What it's supposed to be here, I don't know. The original plat, which I have, this was supposed to be the original drive up here, and then it came down to this. But none of this ever got, that's where it was originally planted, but it never got developed.
And you purchased it for $1,000.
Mhm.
Then the second page is the property card where they purchased it in. And that's about the only information that I found.
So did you come up with any information on when it was blacktopped?
I did not know.
I was talking to some different people and in 2009 or in 2010, it was blacktop as far as back as I can go so far.
Yeah. So the only thing I did was got with O'Meara, they looked through their records, which they had all the way back to 08, and he couldn't find anything, so.
So it was after, evidently the people that I talked to, it was done before then.
Yeah. And then, what was I looking for, the original? Okay, so they originally platted this, North Drive came in, and it was supposed to go up through here and continue on, it's about down the road. So what they done, well, I'm assuming Ohio Valley Development, when they came in.
Right here.
Right. You can see the same shape here as. So what they did when they actually developed this, they come in on what was Drive, but they stopped here at Biscuit, they went around Biscuit, and then turned this back in this drive.
In the back.
Yeah, so this section from here, which would be So it'd be on the first one. So from here, all the way to here, this never got to go. They just switched down.
They just cut this corner off.
Mm-hmm, that's what it looks like.
There's a lot, here's a lot of questions.
Yep, that's a lot.
She asked if,
Well, you took it. County's on it.
Well, technically, the developers developed all that, and then they turned it all over to the county.
Which is
Right.
how our process works. After
Yeah.
they put it in the county inspection, maintain it for 1 year, then we'll assume
Mhm.
the maintenance of that.
Yeah, but I don't think we built the road through there.
Right.
No,
No, I'm sure we did.
yeah.
But when that property was deeded, they didn't separate this portion since it had the road
That's,
through it.
that's the original plat, and that's the only one that I can find. Even when we looked at her property carved up, it still shows the lot just as it is, just other than that plat, because none of that was ever replatted after that. So we basically got the plat when they first laid it out to be done, and then after it's done, it's never replatted. Showed how it actually.
So what is the actual request?
She's wanting to sell the property.
she asked if
You guys could take it or buy it from us. We can't do nothing with it. It's split.
What would we want it?
Yeah.
Well, there are county roads on it.
mine, I've got some things going through my head on the land development. That would be one property that we could take over. So I'll go ahead and dive into that. It's not related, but let me say this to Gary. Could the commissioners, if properties are going up for sheriff's sale, would we be able to get the first option pertaining to the land development?
Just for that area? I have to look, because there's specific rules around when the county can just purchase property. Generally, we need to do some
Usually,
appraisals.
not to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
if it's in a sheriff sale, the bank is gonna come back and try to buy that property back, and there's a lien on it.
Okay.
Which is most likely why the sheriff sale would be
Right.
replaced, but on a tax sale, if something comes up on a tax sale, that's completely different. So if it doesn't sell on the tax sale, which we have properties now that did not sell last year, then there's the commissioner's sale.
If
So, I
it's
mean-
the first option, I don't know how we can just
You know, we,
jump, because there's rules that we follow.
Right.
Different than
That's
the normal
understood.
purchaser.
It's just, it's an area that has to be cleaned up and, you know, how else do you do it?
So I guess my next question to you, Garrett, I mean, the county's not in any way obligated to purchase that property, is that correct?
Well, I think there's some factual disputes here. From my conversations with you, it sounded like that you're indicating that this road went through before they bought it. I think your position would be the road didn't go through before you bought it.
When I was on Route 25 on the bus deal, I started driving in 1999. It was gravel.
But the road still was there?
Went around the property. The county went around it where my lot is.
Uh-huh.
The county went around it because I drove around it on Route 25.
So it was gravel and it went around, and then your position is they moved it
They
and black.
and blacktopped it and split my lot.
But you're
You're
saying
saying the whole
that
time.
it was there since 2005 and they purchased it in 2014.
Yeah.
So
That,
that's a
that
factual
picture
dispute.
is from 2005 aerial. And I also talked to Kevin Hayes, which he's the one that takes care of all our road mapping. If there's any changes to do on the GIS, he does. He's been here since '08. He's never had to change any mapping.
So if this side, if it happened before, then there's certainly nothing I can say that we're obligated. If something happened where it did happen right in the middle, then perhaps there's an argument that she would have for taking without any sort of money. So we basically exercised eminent domain without actually paying for it. But again, there's too much of a factual dispute here for me just to say, no offense to you, ma'am, it's just, I've got two different people telling me two different things.
I
with a lot of
understand.
Different evidence.
But it also shows me that what goes on in that land development. I started first grade there, lived there for a long time. A lot of people change things up there and the county doesn't do anything. I mean, just out of curiosity, there's a road up there called Evergreen. It's not a road anymore. People just took it over. It was a dirt road. People just took it over. Now it's a yard. Is that in your paperwork?
There's, I'm gonna say probably at least 20% of the roads up there that was laid out in that plat, but they was never actually developed.
There's probably still some up there that is not developed.
Yes.
There's a whole block up there that's not even owned by anybody also. Approximately 30 some years ago, I come down here to the courthouse and I wrote down, I still have the book of people's names and addresses, and people gave me envelopes and stamps to contact them to have them mow their property, take care of their property, but nothing ever came of it. So, I mean, it was way before you and so forth and so on. I understand that. But the county let the land development get it the way it is on their own. That's my opinion. Because people move in there and move stuff in there, and there's times you guys don't know, commissioners don't know about it. And that's just like we were talking last time. Used to, you only needed 2 lots, 100 by 100 square to put a dwelling on. Any type of dwelling could have went there. That's when my double wide was put in, was in 74. And we bought it from somebody. We went ahead and bought the 2 lots next door. Then we bought the 2 lots next door. So now it's 6 lots. But also on the last 2 lots that we bought, there's a water meter there, there's electric there, but there's not a septic tank there because people that had it, that sold it to us, were weekend campers. All they had was an oil tank. But I have been told that if somebody wants to come in and put a weekend trailer there just to come down on weekends, and if my opinion is if it's self-contained and they empty the septic, can that trailer sit down there? I've been told no, because we need 6 lots now for anything to go in there. Do you guys have any bylaws or anything like that to prove that that's what's going on?
There's obviously local ordinances that
How would I,
guide those situations.
how would I,
On the Board of Health, and a lot of those are established through that board, so I'm not sure I'm following you completely, so I don't understand exactly what you're asking me, but yes, there are minimum lot sizes.
how can I, who will I see about getting that done to check? Who would I see,
The sanitary,
which is whom?
Lane Phoenix.
Yeah, maybe.
As it relates to the road, and I'm not, ma'am, I'm not saying you're wrong and Dusty's right, or Dusty's wrong and you're right, but again, to Garrett's point, we have conflicting
I understand.
stories. If Joe wants to go ahead and take a vote on the purchase, we can do that. You have every right to do that.
No,
It's not gonna pass because I'm not in favor of it, because number one, I don't understand, why we would want it. If we had discussion and it was logical
Yeah.
reason why we would want it, then obviously my.
Then why was the
opinion is
road put
subject
there?
to change.
that was before our time.
I know that is,
So
but then if we want,
we're trying to go through this to help you out.
I know, but if we want to buy any more lots,
So what we're
that
gonna
lot's
need-
done.
Here, let me finish. We're gonna need a couple weeks, 30 days, so we can check out. Dusty can do some more fact finding. We can do some more fact finding, but to give you an answer tonight, we're not gonna give you an answer tonight. I don't know what happened before
And
2025, January 1.
I know, I
But
mentioned
if
that
you've
when I
listened
came
to
here.
the Meetings, if you've listened to the meetings, I complained about properties in this county. We're trying to do something to get that ball rolling. We've got the ordinances in front of Garrett. He's reviewing them. They haven't been updated since 1996. So give us 30 days.
And I can say, we just sent one letter out to enforce the the kind of blight and trash. So I think there's some movement to try to enforce the current ordinances as well. So for what it's worth. So
And is this something maybe I should get Brian in on to have him go up there, do a survey and what's what?
I think that tells us everything we need.
If we could find where that was ever deeded differently, then that would be really the only thing. I mean, you've got the original plans and this varies or is different from those plans. And I know you want to say that the county did it, but I would question, or my comment based on the information I've heard, is I believe the developer actually changed where the road actually was. It was there when the county took it over, more than likely. So I don't know that the county did anything wrong, but until we investigate further, we're not going to know the answer to that.
When you speak of the developer, are you talking about the guy that did this map?
The guy that developed
The Ohio Valley.
this.
The lawyer that had that done.
Well, would have been a lawyer for a developer,
Right.
correct?
Yes,
The person that owned the land and sold the lots.
because it was all a big farm at one time.
well, I'll tell you, for what it's worth, what I'm looking for in this whole thing as well, similar to what these guys are looking for, is I want to know specifically when this road came through, when it got relocated. And then, what kind of, if it got relocated, what kind of permitting was done, who approved, like, there's a lot of things that I don't know as I sit here. When, how, because you're saying it moved, they're saying it was there since 2005, somebody should know this. There's had to have been a permit or, something that's gonna tell us.
Yeah, and I've looked everywhere, Gordon's office, and I haven't found anything yet. And Kevin Hayes, when I talked to him, he does that mapping, so if there's a road that's been changed or whatever, he's the one that has to do the change. And he said he's worked there since '08, and he's never changed any roads in one.
Dusty, was this Schwegman, was that the original owner? Well,
Should have been, yes. Well,
it
now, I don't,
says 1900, I don't know
Well,
if
they
that's
all-
the accurate date.
I don't know if that was the developer or who the original was. I don't know.
They started doing the developing of these lots in the 1960s.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just curious. So you bought this in 14.
No, we bought it. We just didn't have it deeded over because we paid payments to the guy that had it.
Okay.
And we didn't have it deeded over until,
And
that
I'm just
time.
curious, it's 2025.
Mhm.
And this road's been there since.
Yep.
2010. And now we're coming to the table
Dusty said 2005.
of 2005, whatever, it's 2005, 2010. But now you're coming to the table, hey, this road's in the property. We want you to buy it. It's 15 years later to 20 years later.
yeah, I understand that. But when you have health reasons that keep you from doing different things and so forth and so on, because I've been fighting cancer for a long time.
Understood, sorry. to hear
And,
that.
we have those bills to take care of more so than to see what we got to get going. But like I told my husband, we need to get stuff straightened up so our kids don't have to get it straightened up.
Okay.
And, it's just something that, needs to be taken care of.
Well, we can't give you the answer tonight
No, I understand that.
because it would be a 0-2 vote on the purchase tonight with the information that we have.
So then other words, we'll just not pay taxes on it anymore if that happens and then just let it go.
I can't tell you what to do. Really.
I know you can't tell me what to do, but why have something that I'm paying taxes on? The whole thing's not there.
We can't give you an answer.
I know, but that was a question that I wanted to ask you tonight also. Because if I want to buy the other lots behind it, I need approximately 6 more lots because this one's not any good anymore in order to put a dwelling on there now. It takes 6 lots to put a dwelling on there now. You guys said here a while back, that it used to be 2 lots and then 4 lots. Now it's 6 lots.
I mean, the same question could be asked. We've spent money maintaining that road.
True.
Should we charge you?
I don't know. I don't go, I don't travel that road. I'm not a bus driver there. I'm not a bus driver anymore. It's a county road there.
So Mark Archer can tell you, if you go down and talk to him, he can tell you the amount of acreage you need in order to put a dwelling on.
Okay.
When I said the sanitarian, that's for a septic
No, I don't
permit,
need a
and there are
septic.
separate
Right.
requirements, but it's also consistent, meaning lot size is, you also have to have a certain lot size in order for the septic.
Right.
It's changed recently, so I'm not gonna quote what that is because I'll get it wrong, sure enough. You used to have enough for a secondary site. I think that maybe changed, maybe it hasn't. I don't know what we did relative to that new law within Switzerland County, so, but Mark Archer can tell you any questions you have relative to the lot size.
And what,
Lane Pinnick is a sanitary, he can tell you anything relative to the septic.
okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Norton?
I've been working with them. I think we're really close. So I just talked to him this morning. And I would say that based on our conversation this morning, just the final couple things that we should have it for the next meeting. That's my
Yeah,
suggestion.
and so one of the questions, I can't remember if we asked it in the meeting or we were just talking in general. We made that agreement on the new rent 2 months ago. So I guess when this is signed, we'll get the difference from the last 1 to 2 months.
We can put that in there. I'm sure they'll agree to that.
Yeah.
Because it's been going for a while. I'm sure they'd be amenable to that.
It was just the actual contract, correct?
Yeah, this is just the verbiage of the actual contract. I felt uncomfortable with some of the terms, and then it was under Kentucky law. I prefer things under Indiana law. This is where we're at. So just some minor things I think we're ironing out at this point. But I'll bring that up before the final comes. But I'm sure that that's something they can't speak for them, but I'd say that.
Well, there, did we sign that bridge contract?
Anyway,
This right here,
that's-
You want to look at it?
you can open that up.
Well, I think that's the one you looked at last week.
Yeah, I saw,
You
I
got
saw.
last meeting.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, this was after we sent it to the state. They approved it.
Stacy, you're on deck. Sorry.
You signed that as well.
Okay, so I'm here for reassessment bids. You guys have them both there.
And you currently have who?
Lexar, Vision.
Sorry.
Are you have both
Vision,
Vision now? Vision. They were Lexar when we originally started.
Where are you out of?
We have, offices right over in Finley, and then all of the employees are based in Indiana.
Thanks for making the trip down.
No problem.
The two people that they have in our county live in Jefferson County, so they're fairly close.
So we've got a Stacy, professional appraiser.
It's like Christmas.
You hear from Kyle?
Show up.
So refresh my memory, Stacy was with Tyler before and with the Lexar.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Like versus.
He said,
Yeah, we were with Tyler, and now, yes.
so what do we need to do here?
It looks like
Look at
we're
the-
going to vote on a contract, right?
Yeah.
If these are bids, where do I find out?
I believe I was right about the third. Even 3 or 4. Somebody pays that.
Vision is now Lexar.
Lexar is
Okay,
now
so,
Vision.
The bid from Vision,
I know, I still say.
go ahead now. Read this.
Yeah.
They have a bid of $249,000, $750.
Might want to tell them.
That's 4 years.
4 years, yeah,
Yeah.
4-year contract.
We, base it out in 4 cycles. That equals 249,750.
So it's 4 payments, 1 payment a year.
4 yearly thing.
Well, actually,
Well, we actually started out with,
yeah, so you guys get more claims, but at the end of the year, it should equal that divided by 4. Because they only bill as they do it.
No one hears from, Tyler.
I don't see anyone.
Tyler come in at 243,780.
Mm.
How long has Vision been doing our county work?
4 years.
4 years.
Well, this is our 4th.
Okay. And before Vision, who was it?
Tyler.
Tyler.
If possible, I would like to continue to keep working with Vision.
Which one did we end up in legal
Tyler.
with Tyler? So.
And Tyler was higher
we
last
switched
time.
From Tyler to Lexer, there was a big lawsuit because of some things that happened, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there was ever a lawsuit against the county, but we were somehow involved in that lawsuit. I can't remember.
Yeah,
But that was actually Tyler that filed the
it
lawsuit.
was.
So you've worked with both.
I have,
both
yes.
groups. Okay. I'll make a motion to accept the bid from Revision Government Solutions in the amount of 249,750.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
thank you very much.
You're welcome. Safe travels.
Oh,
That was just a bid, right? There's no contract.
Stacy, is this a bid or is the contract in there, do you know?
Is your contract in there?
yeah, they'll need to sign it, and Katrina has already,
Okay, review it before you send it.
our president signed it. So it made it
I'll
easier
send
to
it
just print
before
it up and wait.
Sign.
Oh, okay.
If
Here's the
not,
original.
if
Can I just
you
get
can
it
just
from
give it
her?
to me, then I'll give it to her tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy. John, you're next on the floor.
Okay, start out with park news. I received quotes from J.J. Sullivan on barn roof repair at Markland and netting installation at Markland Park. 28th of May, inspected all 3 parks. Bryant Creek looks excellent thanks to Dusty and his men. What has been low water in one spot is now 100 feet long island. All well at Patriot, trash containers and portlet are moved to higher ground, so hopefully they'll never float away again like they did last month. Met with 2 professors who wanted to explore Markland for native dewberries and blackberries. Also a man from the Army Corps of Engineers. 3 large pieces of RV furniture were dumped at Markland, right next to the dumpster. June 5th, Thursday, $759 was approved by our insurance adjuster for roof patching at Markland Park. So we're going to get something done, and it won't cost us anything on the roof repair. June 5th, also found out that Securus Systems at Markland Park haven't moved since March, so we're getting those looked at. Spoke to Paul last Friday about a picnic table with a missing board, and he may cover a cracked window to make the Army Corps of Engineers happy. Those are the only 2 things that they found around last month's May. We'll pursue a grant from Dow Corning or Nucor, since they seem both quite generous with Carrollton Parks Department, and Gallatin County Fairgrounds just got funds for bleachers. So we're going to pursue that for probably Markland Park parking lot, instead of spending $14,000 of the county's money. Let's see, zoning. Do Nothing Town of Beebe acted on Tuesday, June 3rd, when they had an unsafe building code hearing on 8 problem properties. 1 homeowner was given 90 days, 1 was given 30 days. They also voted to tear down 1 home, and 4 have cleaned up on their own, which was kind of nice. 1 squatter was evicted last Saturday on Ferry Street, right across from the fire station. And he took his 350-pound hog with him. 81 inoperable vehicles in Beebe as of June 16th, but the town doesn't care. Patriot continues to give property owners another 120 days to clean up after being in violation for years. And their enforcement officer continues to work until they can find a replacement. That's it.
Quick question on Patriot Farm.
Sure.
I was by there a couple weeks ago. Stay on in the park.
Well, they weren't there the day I was there, which was May 20th. So,
Okay, then we're good.
yeah, okay, well, we'll take a look at it and see what they look like.
Well, was May 20th, was that before the Patriot alumni? Because I was in there that Friday night.
Yeah, Tuesday, May 20th. No, I'm sorry, 28th I was there.
Okay,
It's good then.
cleaned up.
Okay, yeah, sometimes our man who does the mowing cleans things up on his own, and sometimes if it's big, he has to, submit a quote, he has to pay for it, so. Okay,
All right, Will.
How's everybody doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thanks for getting me on here again. I just got a follow-up couple questions after working with Dusty about the Highline Road that we had gone over. Dusty, if you kind of want to update him on what you found, and I'll ask a couple questions I got. It may be more of an attorney question or something, but just curious at kind of what my next step should be to tell the client that I'm here representing.
Okay, so this is the only thing I've found, which would be, number 2 on this commission meeting, which was July 5th, 2005. So basically, the property owner that was back there behind, Mr. Davis, he had come in to ask about getting the portion of Highline Road that's in question, trying to get it vacated or whatever it needs to be so that he can put a gate there. The road was declared abandoned on a motion of Casey Brown, which is seconded by Craig Bond. Mr. Davis, and put up a gate. So I'm assuming they abandoned that in 2005. And,
There's such a
I don't,
process.
that's what we need to ask here.
You really need to, abandoning roads, there's some early 1800, like early 1900s, late 1800s of case law on abandoning roads, but all the case law after that, when it comes to abandoning a road, even if one person's property goes to and from, you really can't just abandon a road. You have to go through the affirmative vacation if it was a county road. That's the problem that we have with a lot of county, were they county road, were they not? But if they were a county road, even if it's not on our rolls, if we ever recognize it as a county road, you gotta vacate it at a certain point.
And that's the part I couldn't find on this one either, besides this, even though it wasn't. And that, the portion that's in question here, so this peak is what we still maintain back here. Well, where it used to go straight here over to.
That's what's been declared by this,
Yeah, and this is the part that they have in question.
that you're wanting access to.
Yeah, the client is buying a piece of property. It's actually got a Wilbur Pavey address, but it kind of comes closer to the Highline Road portion that is abandoned or vacated with the document that Dusty had found. So our question was basically, who do we ask about getting access through? Is that something you guys could help us with? Or do we need to go to the landowner there? I didn't know when it was abandoned or vacated means something different. Like who owns that land now? Yeah.
Sometimes what I've noticed with commissioners, especially, with roads,
Mhm.
that is sometimes you got roads that are just not really roads. They don't kind of call it a road for all these years.
Right.
And sometimes people will say, hey, we're abandoning this when they may not know what to do with it.
Sure.
So the question really is, was it a road ever?
Okay.
But in terms of answering your question and what these guys could do, I mean, checking the other properties for ingress and egress, it looks like there was some reference here to make sure that there was an ingress and egress from that, because you can't really landlock somebody.
Right.
So,
Can I have a copy of that?
So So I guess we're at the point of, we have to find out if it was a road.
And when I talked to Dusty, he can't find out where it ever was.
No. The only thing I found was back in 1920 something that showed on the map, like a road, but it didn't say it. But
It didn't clearly state one way or another. Okay.
But
That makes
but
sense.
even if the intent was to vacate rather than abandon, you have to advertise and give
Yeah,
the
vacation.
property owners the opportunity to do that. And I mean, and this doesn't mention anything about that process.
And that's the problem, and why I suspect that through the case law, they have gone away from abandoning. Because you'd be surprised in other counties that there are a lot of roads that folks have that just aren't being maintained, but there are still roads that haven't been maintained. But they still are part of the county roads, and to actually abandon or to actually vacate, you have to give notice under the statute. All the landowners, give them a chance to come to the hearing. And then, commissioners can make a finding at that point, depending on the hearing.
now, if we vacate a road, does that then become an easement for all the property owners?
Well, no, that'd be a reason not to vacate a road. If they're gonna be landlocked, that's a good
Right,
reason
right,
for us to
yeah.
say there's no finding.
So at that point, the next thing for me to do would, or to find out would be if it ever was a county road, which it sounds like it doesn't, which means the distinguishment between vacating it and abandoning it wouldn't even apply at that point. Is that the way that I'm understanding it, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, if it was never a road, I mean, the county certainly has an argument to say
Right.
it's never a road ever, so this
Right.
abandonment was just out of due caution, and so they could do that because
Right.
it wasn't.
And then the next best thing for me to tell my client would do to be to talk to the landowners at that point to get an easement, like a private easement done through them, if that's what he wanted to do. Okay. Well, I think that answers all the questions I've got. So I appreciate all your work, Dusty, and I appreciate you guys hearing me out on this in the couple meetings over the past month. I'll let them know, and thanks again.
So we leave it.
Yeah, I've been on the phone about 200 times since Friday.
This pink line, that was 1998.
Alan Otter, Irvin Smith.
But I can't find it.
They're not here, but they're for me, it's for my property of spot.
Okay, I'm the one that took the message from Vernon, so I didn't know who,
Yeah, the week.
he had me kind of confused though.
Yeah, I just bought the property, Vernon is the realtor,
Right.
and what it was about was, there's an easement through the property,
So what is your name?
Richard Lickenhouse.
Sorry, I didn't have that down.
Is it inside Patriot, the town limits?
I assume, yes.
Okay, so he's up in Plain. And I'm gonna use two different plans here. Back to North Drive,
This one.
I got this one up here, a smaller one of that. too.
Okay.
We can show Joe that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have property up on this upper side.
Here,
Yes. Right here. Okay, this here is called High Street, about here. We maintain that part of High Street. But this also was never developed. So on,
so this dead end,
well, it never developed. Yeah, High Street does. It runs into about right here. High Street, do you actually own the house at the end of High Street there as well?
No, Alan owns that still.
Okay, Alan still owns that.
Yeah, he kept an acre and an eighth.
So I'm gonna use this as a picture.
What are you putting in? Yours.
I want to put either a modular or a double wide on the other side of the barn. Alan's on this side. I want to be on the other side of the barn, and I want to redo or fix up the barn. It was a tobacco barn. I want to put a concrete floor, paint it, use it for storage, cars, basically.
We don't hear a lot of stories of people want to buy a land about to clean it up.
Well, I'm cleaning the property right now. I had some guy clear a lot of it.
From, are you on High Street as well, or just the?
Just the, area right here where I own both pieces of property on either side.
So basically for this whole block, or,
Would be this.
okay. So Joe, back to, do you have?
But there's not a street or anything there currently.
No, trees and
It's just like.
garbage.
So this was the original North Drive that we had a question earlier, and this is it on the plat right here.
Yeah.
Well, none of these ever got developed, so the section he's wanting to, we actually, yeah, vacate. We own a portion of High Street here that we still maintain, then it turns into North Drive here, which is this. But it's never got developed, so there is actually no. But I don't know who owns it easement.
So Richard, on here, can you show us again one more time? What, in Dusty's explanation, this road is only to right in here somewhere or something. to that
Yeah, it looks short for that High Street.
There's, being as far as the.
Cause it runs back to Allen.
I don't know where Alan's house is actually on the map. I'd say it's down here. Is that right?
So it comes in,
Yeah. His house would be. Then when you got off the road, like this, like this side.
okay, so maybe this is it.
This is,
High Street here. So I think this is actually High Street.
Well, yeah, let's, before we get into it,
I think this driveway is actually High Street.
Yeah, I believe so.
Then this driveway stops.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe so.
let us double check,
Okay.
so we're not into another.
Yeah, this is still in all that same area.
What I was gonna ask specifically, what is the portion he's asking us to pay?
Yeah.
Just this section where I am, this right here. And this.
Basically, that entire, what is calling on here, North Drive, I don't know what it's called. All of North Drive from High Street. Part of it which we maintain and part of it was never developed to begin with.
Yeah, this part right here. Because the lawns is probably right in this area right
Yeah, I think after you leave High Street, which is either gonna be here or here, then he's starting here. It's none of that, there's no road, nothing, it's just all you.
here. Yeah.
But before you can vacate it, you gotta find out. Who owns it?
Yeah.
Okay. Cause I'm sure that plat all got turned over to the county as far as your. set aside.
Sounds like, you know, we not to take over these developments, to be quite honest.
And I'm gonna send something around so that everybody can see the vacation statute. that we follow.
So I just come back to another.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't mind,
Do you have his, cell number?
do we have everything that's called in or? We're gonna just have it for this time.
Have it delivered there, because I had.
Because Vern called you,
Now
didn't he?
number, so I didn't even.
He had a doctor's appointment.
I got Vern's number too, so I can call him. Yeah, if you don't mind, just write your number anywhere.
Can I just write my name right here?
Yeah, that's fine. Then once I find out some more information, I'll get a hold of you. Then we'll try to set up a
Sounds like
date to come back.
do take over. We sure what's supposed to be there.
I've been talking to Dusty about making sure that we start to either start the
Thank you.
process.
Yep,
of
thanks, sir.
vacating
Mhm.
roads, or get on and actually put these things on the roll so we get reimbursement and actually maintain the road.
What was, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Marion Drive.
I don't, Brian asked me to put this on here, but That's all he said, was add it to the ordinance or to the meeting tonight, but he's not even here, so I'm not.
We can do that next week.
He said, speed issue, which I had the ordinance pulled out. We did this back in 23, so
Yeah, we do have speed limits. on
Yeah,
it.
we do have all that.
If That's what he.
I don't know.
This is the one we just recently assumed, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. Marion.
He mentioned something to me. I talked to him about speed bumps that they'd asked about. Put speed bumps.
Oh, maybe that's what he.
It just says speed issue, that's all I got, so.
That's what he said to me was the speed bumps.
Depends on.
I feel like you guys talked about those,
It's been a
when
while.
all that was going on. 'Cause remember it was,
Conversation on speed bumps, I remember trying to
No, I heard
figure out how wide it was.
no, this is Marion Drive and Safety Lane and Shea Lane, there was never any speed limit. People were calling in, but the officers couldn't do anything, because there was never any speed limit signs posted. So we did all, yes.
And you may not have not looked into it yet. He just raised it today. The procedure generally, like speed limits, things like that, we gotta do a speed study, we gotta
Yes,
yes.
speed bumps, the same process.
I don't know.
You may
what
know.
speed bump.
Speed bumps, do we have to do anything with you in terms of the study?
You don't necessarily have to do a study on it, speed bumps, but they are, how do I put it, not something that, because it could prove liability to you guys if they hit it at wrong speed, you could be liable for the damage, so it's not really encouraged to put those out in the streets.
Okay.
without
And I
reason.
think they gotta be under a certain speed limit anyway, don't
It
they?
has to be under certain speed limits, it's more for parking lot, not for actual roadways due to
Yeah.
the limited liability. to the
Speed limit's
county.
only 45,
Yeah.
so. Yeah, just literally, I just have to be.
They've been waiting, and John's probably gonna go a little bit long. Can I get some bridge people real quick?
Sure.
Uh, So Josh,
My name is Josh Archer. I'm the current acting Switzerland County 4-H Fair Board President. The reason we're here and active tonight, we had to apply for one of your grants for funding. It's what we were previously given in years past as boat revenue. There weren't really many guidelines on how it should be used, what it should be used for. We were told last year, not by this board, but by our council, that we should have 2 years worth of rainy day funds. We had 2 years worth of rainy day funds. So last year we were denied any funding. They told us to come back in November, December. That kind of was just pushed away, first year, election year and all. So now we have a new policy. We have to apply for a grant since we're a non-for-profit group. Do I agree with it? No. Where I think and feel like the 4-H program should be part of, we should go with the educational system. Education, we're every bit as educational as our school system down here. We provide opportunities for science, agriculture, business, as well as camps. We have a stem cell lab. There's all different kinds of educational things that the 4-H program provides. So one reason I don't feel we should have to do this grant system because I know it's such a limited fund. And there's several other non-for-profits that need the cash. But this is a process that has been implemented, so we're here to act on it. We submitted the forms that were required. From what I've been told, you guys have to approve them to go to council. Council will look them over, give their input, and I still don't know who gets the final say on. Then it comes back to your guys' group.
It's just an agreement.
Yeah, just to codify the agreement.
So everybody's on the same page, because
Yes.
last year, I
Just
didn't
check
think
them.
everybody was on the same page.
There's checks and balances, and this is a procedure that needs, because it's a non-government entity. And I understand your perspective on education and you're getting to the nitty gritty of like, what do you do? Well, it's really just how you're classified. So it's nothing personal against you.
Yeah.
It's just something.
But we service 225 kids in our community. So
I'm a
to
big
me, that's,
supporter. I just came from Dearborn County 4-H Fair.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Be it your option. as
Well, I
well.
appreciate it.
I'm a supporter. These guys, I'm sure are supporters, but it's legal. They weren't doing things right before.
well, the issue we're gonna have, maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's 10 years. our cash is gonna be depleted. We own our property back here. So unless the county or the town wants to take over this property and operate it like Ohio County does, because they don't own their fairgrounds, they lease it for 1 week out of the year. So they don't have yearly operating costs. Our yearly operating costs with our insurance included is over $50,000 a year. Our 1 week of fair, just to what it costs us to do everything it's required to run our fair, and we're minimal. We don't have a midway, we don't have grandstand events because we can't afford them. The cost of putting them on or the insurance to cover putting them on. But that's an additional almost 25 to 30,000. So we spend somewhere between 75 and $80,000 a year just to keep this grounds operational and have a fair for 1 week out of the year on a minimal budget. So that's why we put in we do the BB Ogle Community Foundation grants. But once again, the grants limit what you can use funding for. Our grounds are, if you go to any of the other counties, our grounds are every bit as nice, if not nicer than most of the surrounding counties. So as far as capital improvements go, we can only justify doing so much. I mean, you try to run it as a business, but I mean, you got to be wise about it. So,
I'm a big supporter of 4-H. You know, I made it clear the last meeting. I made a mistake in the last meeting. I was under the impression that this NGO was front loaded. It's, you know, we have to build up the funds over year as we get disbursements. So, you know, the last meeting, I think council was 55,000 in that fund. They gave 30. We're giving 30 to the YMCA. So I don't think anything can be done tonight.
Okay.
But again, I'm a big supporter of 4-H and I'll do everything I can from my seat. I know Ryan's a big supporter of 4-H. I don't know Jamie's stance on the different groups, but that's where I stand.
Okay.
You can't approve a certain amount.
We could approve up to
You're asking. for
25,000
69,000.
because you've only distributed 30,000 so far.
Yeah.
As far as my position on 4-H, I will tell you this. I think more people in this community participate in 4-H than they do in the YMCA.
I agree.
I would fund 4-H before I would the YMCA, me personally. I think that if I understand your situation, I think there's other things that you can do that you probably don't want to do to help bring you additional revenue, things such as a buyer's fee. And I know the theory is probably, well, if we add a buyer's fee, then people's going to bid less, the kid will get less, probably is the thinking. Generally, and I can't say which would happen, right? I can't tell you, me personally, if you had the buyer's fee, I'm gonna say I'm gonna spend $3,000 for a beef or whatever. I know the buyer's fee is 15%. So now I'm gonna spend $3,450 or whatever the case may be. But with that said, I support the YMCA. Like I said, if I had to choose between the 4-H, if I had to choose between 4-H and YMCA, I would fund 4-H before I would YMCA, purely because I think there's greater participation within the county in those programs than there is the YMCA. With that said, I have no problem taking a vote and approving some level of funding. Obviously, the money isn't there for the 69,000. There are other options. I don't know that I'm in favor of them, but there's nothing that says that you have to solely get it from the grant fund, to the best of my knowledge.
And we can move money to fund the NGO.
We can request it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you mentioned a number. I'll make a motion to approve 25,000 for the 4-H.
Funded from the grant.
To be funded from the grant fund. Fair's coming up.
Yep, our fair's about 3 weeks. June 28th is the actual start of it to July 6th.
I think historically you got around 35, is that correct?
That's correct.
And the other thing, I made this point at council, depending on fund availability, there's nothing that prevents you from coming back.
Okay.
We may, like, this is brand new to everybody because things weren't done properly. We're just trying to get things up to speed. We could change this if you guys want to requesting, you know, a monthly stipend or something like that.
Quarterly?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or quarterly or something like that.
We get distributions quarterly, correct?
Distributions, yeah.
Yeah.
I made the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for waiting.
No problem.
I'll wait till that's a little longer.
John, you're on deck.
I'm here this evening with a grant from the V.B. Switzerland County Foundation. This is to cover, we call them dues, but it's really more of an assessment that the Regional Ready Board, this is the second one they've had to put out since 2021 when the Ready project started. The state covers most of the admin costs, but there's things they don't cover either because there's not enough money or because of gaps in funding. So it's a $5,000 grant. The foundation is paying it on behalf of the county basically, but they need to give money to the county.
Yeah.
So you'd have a claim in your next set of claims at your next meeting.
What do we need to do?
I didn't bring that with me.
Oh,
Here. It's not laying there. So, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, you sent us, well, basically the foundation granted money to the county to pay the administrative portion of the grant.
right. Yeah. So yeah, the foundation's giving money.
And this is just saying that we use those funds as prescribed or described.
Yeah, basically, I mean, and it's the standard foundation grant agreement that they do for every grant, and it'll actually be closed at the next meeting when we
So we just need to
issue a check.
approve this tonight.
Yeah, just approve the grant and agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve $5,000.
I'll second.
All in favor?
And so there's no confusion. We're not paying $5,000. We're receiving $5,000, correct?
Right. Yeah, the foundation's basically putting the money in to cover that, and it should be the last time, of course, the Ready project, there's not gonna be another round of it, so worst case scenario, there might be one more of these to close everything out at the end. But they've got to be audited because of the amount of money at the regional level, so that's a pretty big expense every year.
So we're done with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the other information that you sent us, and if I get these numbers wrong, I apologize. It was interesting on the amount of homes that your funding is potentially going to help with over the next 2, 3, 4 years. And for some reason, I remember 38 homes.
Yeah, and that's the amount that was actually committed to. Yeah, we put the number of 100 in there for what we're lining the infrastructure up for. It could be more than that. We've tried to keep those estimates conservative just because what we were afraid of is happening now, where the state is coming back in and wanting evidence that these things are actually being delivered on. So we want to make sure that, you know, we're not promising something we can't do.
And I'm just curious, how many have been put up?
We are at 22 right now.
Is that the west side of town?
Primarily, yeah. And then there's one going up right now in Florence that's
Okay,
part of that
was my
project
next
too.
question.
Yeah.
So, because I think there's 19 or 20 homes.
Yeah,
we're looking at
yeah.
there. All around the 200,000 range.
Yeah, that's kind of a tough hurdle to get under.
Right.
For the most, but yeah, I mean, I think the ones here on the west end of town were in the 2.25, 230 range.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a nice development.
Couple years ago, we didn't have that problem, but now, yeah, that's a pretty cheap house this day and age.
Yeah. Anything else?
Thank you. Nope, that's all I've got.
Ready, Ryan, you're up the bat.
I talked to Ryan, auto loaders, and asking you guys to buy them. There is
We already bought a used one or whatever.
I couldn't get that one.
Oh,
I tried. I was the only one bidding on it at the end. I was only bidding against myself, and it got up to where I didn't want to pay anymore. Auction ended. I called them and asked them if they'd sell it to me for my highest bid, and they won't call me. I know where that lies. I talked to you guys before in the past about Stryker has this lease option. The original quote to lease 2 of these over 5 years came in at $15,744.55. Although the contract they just sent me has a payment of 17,380. The guy's looking into it to figure out what the difference is. He thinks possibly they added some parts that I was willing to buy for the stretchers to that quote. And I wasn't going to put that on there. The stretchers need some upgrades to fit the autoloader. It's a mod kit. And basically it's an e-sign document. It's 5 years. It's going to be somewhere in the $15,000 to $16,000 range, but I'm going to pay for it out of my own line item. But Ryan thought I should at least come tell you guys what I wanted to do. You guys have any of that
in your pocket.
It's coming out of the equipment line item, so.
You're the manager.
I figure if this works out, in 5 years, we're gonna be doing the same thing with cardiac monitors, so this will be a good trial of the system, so. I did negotiate it out where there's, no interim rent and no documentation fees, which in the original one,
5 years
5 years.
or per year?
Per year.
It's per year.
Per year or two.
Yeah.
So 70.
They're 33,000 and some
7,800
change a piece.
A year.
The equipment is 64, 813, 28. Has a 2-year warranty. They add on a 3-year service plan past that, which is an additional 11, 289.60. They've got the freight charges in here, which total is 76, 824, 42. And they break it down. He broke it down in his quote as 15, 744, 88. They sent the contract over and it's at 17, 380, 63. So he's trying to figure out what the difference is versus his quote versus what the contract came in at. So
When he came in my office and talked to me, he has it in his line item, but you guys are gonna have to do his budget and take that into consideration every year as well. Make sure he has.
So you're saying he's got enough for the 15,700 for you the first year?
Right now, he does.
yeah, it's a $50,000 line item budget right now, which
As long as you don't buy anything else.
equipment's aging. I think budgets are coming. It's a whole other story. I think there's too much money in certain fields and not enough in another.
Right.
We'll get to all that when it gets there. I think moving it around, I think we're still going to be good. So
What's up with the ambulance that, a few
going
weeks
for
ago you called?
decals tomorrow, finally.
There was a deer hit.
Oh,
within
it's
less than
fixed.
30 days.
It's fixed.
Okay.
It ended up needing more repairs since then. It ended up, it's probably going to be about $2,000 after a body alignment tomorrow. So, but that has nothing to do with the deer. The deer was under $1,000. It was under the deductible. So paid for that straight out. Minor damage, headlight and a grill. Equipment's aging, so.
That contract, they really can't sign off on or anything.
It's set for me to sign it. Are you guys fine with me signing? It just has a customer signature box. It's an e-sign document.
So I think
Here-
here's what helped us. I mean, we're committing to a 5-year contract for a total of $75,000 rather than just a 1-year contract of $15,000. So, even though he's got the funds to cover the year one, 15,000, we're committed for 75,000. So I don't know, how does that work?
Well, you can, but certainly something to think about. And then they can't just sign. So generally, last year, not this year, but the last session, they said that all contracts had to be approved, every single contract, no matter which entity. It has to be the name of the county and reviewed by the commissioners and their attorney. So if it's a 5-year contract, I'd like to look at it because sometimes they'll sneak these weird things in. These renewal terms. What's your timeline?
This is basically leasing notes.
In terms of what's your timeline that you need it by?
As soon as I order it, better. But the ambulance is gonna need it. If not, I have to modify the floor in the ambulance, to put a control system in it. I don't want to put a hole in the floor of a new ambulance if I don't have to.
In short, you can, but the budget considerations is something that you are committing. I want to make sure that we have an out if we need it. So just I'm looking at this one. Let me look at this. I've got time. Yeah.
Now, can I get on? I inadvertently did not get with Gail, and then I talked to Ryan Friday and thought maybe you signed now, but.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Cardiac Fall, Dusty Hunt featured speaker tonight, man, he's awesome for everything. Featured speaker, property advisor. Okay, so where I am, I'll try to keep this fairly simple. And whoever wants the one, ink is run out. I printed both those. So what I'm here about is I kind of got some information through, and I know you'll remember that, Jamie, the Infants in Bloom ladies. They keep they'll send info to me, and of course, the health department with Health First Indiana helped with those for this year and 24. Well, anyway, they sent me this info that basically the opioid settlement dollars that are just hanging around, there's a section of those by grant and one thing or another that you can match dollar for dollar. So that email that she sent me is concerning that. And all we need, or all you would need to do right now is just have a letter of intent sent that we may try to do something with that. And it needs to be sent by the end of this month.
We're not obligated.
You're not obligated. The rest of that is apparently there aren't very many question answers out there, or there aren't answers to the questions right now. That stuff's going to follow in July. From what is this? It's Department or Division of Mental Health and Addictions within Family and Social Services Agency. And those ladies had told us that was probably coming down the pike, a dollar for dollar match. But I just kind of forgotten about it because I figured with this year's budget, the way things had kind of gone sideways one thing or another, that those dollars would not be available. But apparently they were already earmarked, and they are. So we could essentially apply it or sign a letter of intent for up to $150,000 worth of match, dollar for dollar match, and see if this group can come up with what they would spend dollars on that would be within these, provisions or whatnot.
So I guess I've got a question.
I don't know that I'm going to have an answer.
Opioid funds. The commissioners have control.
There
That's-
was
Because it was
discussion
supposed to,
last
what is
year.
that? It's supposed to create a committee or something?
Well, yes and no. I mean, there was some discussion that the county attorney had to come up with something if someone was interested in getting any of the funds. I spoke to one of the probation officers today, and he said that he was gonna meet with one of their guys, so to speak, but maybe having the foundation take control of the funds. for the simple
There's some
fact
talk about that. For example,
they have the committee.
Yeah.
And if the judge, there would be so much, I don't know what the word is, I'm trying to say, they wouldn't be able to sit on that committee necessarily if it was for their benefit or for their department benefit.
right. But
Yes.
the reason I'm here, when I received this, is I just can't imagine turning loose $150,000 from the county if it can possibly be used.
Yeah, on the VSR page, it's Fund 8950, page 139.
8950 is he's talking about 1237,
My
1258.
question is, if I'm reading that right, it looked like there was money still set aside for coronavirus.
That is in one of their health funds.
Okay.
They have to spend it. They still have some in there, but it's,
Oh, okay, got
they, being funded, there's still some money left over.
it. Okay.
That is one of the health department funds, but.
And there are several
Right,
funds.
yeah.
That got pretty complicated with Health First Indiana. And then as Health First Indiana is kind of
But
sliding out, those will probably be brought into one or lesser over time. But what I'm asking you to do here, and then the second part of that is if the group, or whether that goes to the community foundation or whatever happens to it, but if Infants in Bloom, if we are able to receive this, potentially look favorably towards sending a few more bucks toward Infants in Bloom. Because they're off and running, and it's an organization that could change the scope of the way these substance abuse babies are taken care of, training, hopefully get them on the road socially, and one thing or another.
you guys gave them some money last
We
year.
gave them money on 2 years. That was determined to be something that was pretty worthwhile.
I make I mean, we're not obligated, so I make a motion to, pass the letter of intent.
Yeah, and it'll go to, DMHA here, Division of Mental Health and Addiction.
You don't have to specify the amount, just the letter.
No, it's good up to $150,000, and in the unrestricted fund, right, or excuse me, in the restricted fund right now, there's 149 as of the other day, 6 or something, 149,600.
I'll second the motion.
And so I don't know if I'll have,
Oh, I thought you.
No,
You made a motion.
I did make a motion. You said it, but you look like you.
I do have a question, but I'll figure it out, wait till after. Ask it.
All in favor?
Aye. You mentioned unrestricted funds. Everything within, we don't really even know what the request is yet.
right,
Okay.
well, I can guarantee you, we're gonna come back, probably and request 15,000 of it, with maybe the $15,000 match if we can get it for Infants in Bloom. That seems to be a program that fits the click for all this stuff. For example, there were three potential asks in here. One was substance use, misuse prevention, blah, blah, blah. The other was a transportation service. So you could ask that, you have to claim one of these. So we're attempting to claim the top one. The second was transportation service initiative for providing round trip transportation to support individuals in recovery. That's good for a max of 150. That could be an ask. Or the third, I didn't figure the county was interested in this. It's up to $500,000, which we don't have, but it's for building some type of residential treatment centers and whatnot. I don't know that we're big enough for anything like that.
Said you mentioned the unrestricted, you actually mentioned the restricted, and said there was 157 or something.
There's about 50 in the unrestricted.
Everything that'll be requested qualifies for the restricted fund?
Well, that's the question. The question is depending on where that's going, if that does go to, say, Community Foundation or something like that, it's just that I wanted to try to leave this door open for these asks. And I just picked this up because they sent me this thing. I just couldn't see I don't know that it didn't go anywhere else in the county or what. I just couldn't see us passing up $150,000 match if we were to spend it, something like that.
I think I said all in favor.
You go.
Just want to make sure.
Okay, thanks. Oh, did you have an answer to that, or did you get time to look at it?
So we don't have any ordinance or anything established to deal with the funds as they come in. So generally what I've seen in other places is kind of I even did, in Franklin County, we just did an advisory kind of committee that would advise.
Right. And
folks
they
before
kind of established that, but I was just looking, some of this information I was looking over, for example, capitalchronicle.com back at the end of last year said that 80% of the funds out in the state have not had anything done with them at this point. 80% of the counties, excuse me, have not done anything with funds. So we're not alone. It's a complicated document, complicated provisions, and it looks like you really have to tear into it. But is this sufficient to be done only through the commissioners?
There's a bit of a difference of opinion. So I would say generally when it comes to settlement dollars and things like that, commissioners have more freedom to just handle that as the executive branch.
Because the
Generally
time,
what we want is just an ordinance or a resolution to that effect passed so that everyone understands.
yeah, the timeliness of this isn't going to work if we have to wait for a council meeting. So,
When will you hear back then?
well, we have to have a letter of intent in by June 30th.
No, I meant like.
Oh.
Moving the funds and.
I mean, that sounds like it'd be out several months, I would guess. I mean, it looks as if some of the grant questions, answers are going to be during the month of July and probably grant process. I'm not sure the final date on the actual grant process yet. This is pretty sketchy.
Yeah, we've approved the letter.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you think it's sufficient?
I think that'll be sufficient this
Right.
time. I mean, and I think we have an argument that it's settlement dollars and that commissioners have a little more flexibility to appropriate those where they want.
The thing was, I was giving him homework at the council meeting.
Yes, that's what I was
That
looking into.
That was the question. Okay, well, thank you all.
Thank you.
We have a couple more things to clean up. Code bridge certification. We read this.
Yeah, I have to turn it in, it has to be signed and turned in. And we have no covered bridges until none vacated or.
Well, no,
It's just something I have to turn in, it's part of the settlement, so, and it has to be signed by the commissioner. I do have a question, the CAC at the last commissioners meeting, it was approved to go before the council denied it. What is the procedure if they want to resubmit and bring forward, make sure they're at the meeting and
I've only been able to talk to one council member who quit. I'm still at a loss as to why it was voted down. And that portion of the meeting was cut off.
I don't know what was going on over there.
I don't know. What was the information that they need?
They wanted more, there wasn't a representative there at the council meeting, and they had some questions that were unanswered that what she filled out.
My understanding, the biggest issue was, if you look, I think they showed like 15 years of number of kids that they had served or whatever
Yeah,
in
maybe
county, and Switzerland County was approximately 5% of that total.
347.
5%.
Yeah, so the question was, is 6,000 5% of their total request, or is it a third of their total request? Meaning, so they served a region which was 3 counties, right? Switzerland, Texas, and Difference, I think.
Decatur, they're in Jefferson County, or they're in Greensburg, Madison, and Dillon. Jefferson, Berkeley.
So my understanding is the biggest question was, you know, we're only utilizing at a 5% of their total demand.
Right.
Is 6,000 5% of their total ask, or is it 30% of that?
Okay, I got it now.
And there's nothing that prohibits them from reapplying. And I've told council that extend a little bit of grace to folks that don't know this process, because we're just starting this process.
Right.
So nobody, I think,
So-
knew they had to come in, so they can't just,
Should she come back to the commissioners again?
yeah, at this point, it has to start.
Okay, that was my question.
And then Ryan said that he would attend the next council meeting.
Yeah.
Once she comes for us again, to give his perspective from the law enforcement.
So, and then, the YMCA, it got approved from commissioners and it got approved, well, it got downplayed to 30,000. So, Eric, I came up with this agreement. Did you send this to them as well? Did they?
Yeah, I think I CC'd you guys on that.
So, just an agreement, yeah, so I'm assuming one of you guys will need to sign it, and then before I have Ren sign it, you know, what I say.
Yeah, so from this standpoint, you're just authorizing one member to sign that agreement on behalf of the commissioners.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to accept this, agreement.
This is the agreement, I need to,
Yeah, I didn't know if you guys sent it out. So basically
I've read it on email, but should we read it in public? My question.
it's a public document, you can request, so you don't have to read it out loud.
it's not, it doesn't have ordinance number. or anything.
Yeah, this is just a grant agreement, just like any other grant agreement that you're involved with.
So. I think that's- Which is this one?
This is, that should,
Jamie, do you remember last year when you guys approved the oil? Was it the oil? Of the elevator?
Yeah, $10,000.
They won't do it until this.
For an oil fee.
Yeah, basically, it is.
It was in the budget, we put it.
Right, it's in the budget, but this has to be signed before they'll actually do it. I was trying to see it show up to speed. No. then on the last one, that is the whole redistricting, re-precinct.
Yeah, so we can't re-precinct yet, but it's referencing re-precinct. So, after the census, we also have to conduct, a redistricting of the county council. If we are out of line with so many of the population. My understanding is the clerk has been talking with, somebody that has helped other counties with their redistricting process. He had sent me a draft of an ordinance. I looked at that after last meeting. I changed the substance. I ran it by Gail and she caught, he had made a couple errors in terms of making sure that we get accurately which precincts are going to be within each of the districts. The intention here is it does not disrupt any of the current members that were able to do that. But it is contemplated in there that there are two sections that are in a map that's on file in the clerk's office that people can look at, that through re-precincting, which is a different process, and the clerk will go through that process, there will be two additional precincts in there. I've referenced them by the map, which we can do, and by the future precinct number. But you've confirmed that, and you changed that to confirm that this is accurate. So that is an ordinance for redistricting.
So we just need to pass, read the ordinance and
Yes, that one you
vote on, we're gonna pass it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Typically, it's only, if you have a unanimous vote, it's only required to be read one time, correct?
Yeah, but in terms of, I'm not even sure reading more than one time so that you have to do it. That's not unanimous. Redistricting, I think, is just like a normal ordinance to pass, unless somebody has any other information. From my standpoint.
Well, the reason I was asking is, would all three commissioners have to be present in order to be considered unanimous, or just unanimous?
No, we're fine if you two,
Okay.
if you two do that, because we have to do this. If you guys don't do this by the end of the month, you guys don't get paid.
All righty, we got Switzerland County Board of Commissioners Ordinance 2025-06-16-7. An ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of Switzerland County, Indiana, establishing county council districts, whereas Indiana Code 36-2-3-4 requires the Board of Commissioners to divide the county into 4 districts composed of contiguous territories, reasonably compact and of nearly equal population for the purpose of electing members to the county council, and whereas Indiana Code 3-11-1.5 establishes procedures for the creation and certification of precincts within each county, and whereas Indiana Code 3-5-10-7.1 requires each county to redistrict or recertify its districts to ensure compliance with law and census population quality standards, and whereas Switzerland County, Indiana desires to establish new county council districts based on the 2020 census data and consistent with the precinct structure established or to be established under state law. And whereas the Board of Commissioners recognizes that certain precincts listed below, specifically proposed Cotton 03 and proposed Jefferson 04, have not yet been officially established but are anticipated and will be designated in accordance with Indiana Code 3-11-1.5 and the precinct plan on file in the office of the Switzerland County Circuit Court Clerk. Now therefore be it ordained by the Commissioners of Switzerland County, Indiana, Section 1, effective July 1, 2025. Switzerland County shall be divided into 4 county council election districts as follows, using precincts identified on the official precinct map and plan on file with the Switzerland County Clerk. District 1 shall consist of the following voting precincts: Jefferson 01, Jefferson 02. District 2 shall consist of the following voting precincts: the area identified on the precinct map on file in the office of the Switzerland County Clerk, which shall be designated as Jefferson 04 upon its formal establishment pursuant to Indiana Code 3-11-1.5. Posey 01, York, Jefferson 3. District 3 shall consist of the following voting precincts: Craig 01, Craig 02, Pleasant 01, Pleasant 02. District 4 shall consist of the following precincts: Cotton 01, Cotton 2. The area identified in the precinct map on file in the office of the Swishland County Clerk, which shall be designated as Cotton 03. Upon its formal establishment pursuant to Indiana Code 3-11-1.5 and POSI 02. Section 2, a copy of the ordinance shall be filed with the clerk, the circuit court clerk of Swishland County, Indiana. Section 3, all previously enacted ordinances as part of ordinances establishing county council districts, to the extent they conflict with the ordinance, are hereby repealed effective June 30th, 2025. Section 4 of the ordinance shall be enforced and in effect upon its adoption. Passed and adopted this 16th day of June 2025. That's a lot of reading.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 6-16-25-6-16-7.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I was able to review this contract. It has the appropriate provisions. Jamie, to answer some of your questions, what I'm looking for in a contract with a government entity are specifically 2 and 3. Now it's saying that they want you to take all necessary action to try to obtain appropriation, but in the event that no appropriation exists, we have a termination clause here that we can exercise. So
Okay.
that's what I want to make sure. Whenever you're, as a governmental entity, engaging into an agreement long-term, when you got other boards that are here, they can exercise their discretion. It wants to, in the strongest possible terms, wants to make sure you're doing that. If you can't do it, then it's fine.
So in this case, we can approve the contract for year 1 and not necessarily make the appropriation for the full $75,000.
We have to make, well, you're accurate there because you're 17,000 a year, but you're approving that agreement. So unless there's no money there, this agreement goes on.
So currently it isn't funded beyond year 1. So he's funding it out of his general fund budget, for year 1.
As long as he has money in there for that appropriation, he's bound by that contract.
Then it'll
In
be
the event
Mr.'s responsibility in the out years, the other 4 years, to make sure that we continue to put that money in his budget.
Yeah, and if they don't, then we need to make sure that we exercise the termination.
That one has 17,000, and it should like 15, right?
No,
Yeah, I'm waiting.
15,000.
It has an e-sign on it. That's the other thing. The question is, can I e-sign that on behalf of you guys? Or
15,744.
that was the original quote.
Yeah.
So he's looking at figuring out where the difference is in the math. So
Okay.
So I'd make a motion to approve, the rent to purchase, 2 lift assists in the amount of $15,744.55, correct?
I say.
yeah, that's, I mean, the price is going to be within that area. It might be slightly over. I mean, I'm just saying.
You'll want to authorize him to sign the agreement as well.
And authorize Ryan Everman, Director of SCER, to enter into that agreement with Stryker.
I second. All in favor? Aye. Anyone else?
The only other thing I want to bring up, and we talked about this at the council meeting, and I think they approved one of the 2, trying to remember who was the person that the treasurer brought in. They only approved one of
Oh,
those
Baker
agreements.
Tilly.
Baker Tilly.
Yeah, and they wanted to cancel the other one. Am I accurately?
Right.
So what I would just need is you guys to authorize me to proceed to cancel. If you guys had signed both agreements with Baker Tilly, you're canceling the agreement as it relates to the budget.
How much was the agreement for the budget?
15,000?
And the council only approved one of the 2?
They only approved the 30,000, which was for
The financial side.
financial side.
When you guys
You
did-
find them, there's just no money there. So with no money, I just don't want to be charged, so we need to start exercising our termination clause there before they start doing anything.
Yeah, I guess. So who do we want to use for the budget then, if we're not going to use Baker Tilly?
I'm gonna use AIC, who I've always used. AIC,
Jackie Clem?
yes, along with, field rep.
I mean, we've got trouble with, we've submitted numbers to the state using Jackie. Why wouldn't we want to use somebody?
She's always helped me fill out everything and get it correct. I mean, between her and the DLGF, they are having meetings, they're having virtual meetings that I can participate in as well. I don't know that the numbers being submitted, you can blame those on her, that I was just as default typing it in. I mean, she didn't type it in.
Well, I mean, and direction's been given for several years in a row, just like right now. This facility isn't funded in the budget. Fort Bennington Sewer isn't funded in the budget. And I don't know that that's good direction. I personally, I would like to see, I'd like to have a second opinion or second.
I can get you that, because I like the Baker Tilly route, but I can get you a second bid.
So we don't have to take any action. I just want to keep that on the radar because there's no money appropriated for it. So we have that agreement, and if work is started to be done, they could start charging us. And so that's the only reason I bring that just for the legal.
They haven't done, I mean, they won't do anything
Okay.
for me as far as budgets are concerned.
I just bring that up just to make sure from my standpoint, I don't let something drop for us.
And Jackie charges us $15.5, so. Getting Jackie dollar amount. Kind of mixed up with our lobbyist, the lobbyist is 15 a quarter.
Yeah, that's good. Were you in that meeting when?
I've never been to a meeting.
But I mean, Baker Tilly is they're a huge firm. I mean, they should know Indiana law very well. Not to say that AIC doesn't know Indiana law, but I think, but I also think Baker Tilly provides budget assistance to a lot of other counties in
They do.
the state.
I know they do a Howard County.
What about, I mean, how's SB one going to affect our budget process this year? How many new laws are there related to SB one that we're going to need to
Yeah, we
know
covered,
and understand?
we covered that very briefly and there's a lot of delayed implementation with SB one. So take, for instance, the lit. So what SB one did was it took away like the lits you could do for all these purposes, took that away and gave the county a general lit that you could impose. And that doesn't go into effect until either 27 or 2030. Then you.
Then the government, the state government's gonna change.
Yeah, well, and then there's even this discussion, because I won't get into, there's some things I think that needs to be fixed with Senate one before some of those things go into effect. That's how I'll put that, because I think removing that lit for some of these specific lits, and it also makes you re-up your lit every single year.
Right.
And so, then, we're changing the entire tax-based system for the property taxes, which we already approved. The person who did the property taxes, we're shifting from a levy-based system, which kind of has everybody vying for the same dollars. You're basing it, based on the levy, to a rate-based system. So you would be able to say, here's your home, here's how much it's going to be worth. But now you can't do that. But that's a delayed implementation. So to answer your effect, what's going to change for next year? Next year, the tax credits will take effect. So homes will have the tax credits come off of the back half that we'll be able to see. And that's what everyone talks about with impacting the county budgets and the township budgets and the school budgets. But these other more complicated phased in approaches, those won't hit until 27 and 30. The purpose there was to try to give counties time to see what the impact is going to be.
Just an FYI for you. So back when we passed the first lit historically, we have funded X number of deputies from casino revenue. So that's why the sheriff's percentage of distribution was at X.
Yeah.
When they implemented the lit tax, the purpose was to cover those salaries with the lit in case the casino revenue ever went away, it wouldn't impact the sheriff to the extent that he would have to get rid of those positions. Well, there was also, council was originally supposed to go back and adjust the distribution percentage to the sheriff because he was now getting the lit. That never happened. So in essence, the sheriff for the last 2 years is double dip. He's got the lit and the same amount of distribution. So that's how he's been able to purchase all the new vehicles. And that's a little bit off subject, but that's a little facts for us in terms of an oversight, I guess. But not to say that we would do anything any different. I don't know that we would. But that wasn't what was supposed to happen when the lit tax was imposed, if you will, or adopted. So I mean, I guess I don't have any additional questions. I personally, I would like to see. I would like to see us use a different voice or professional service for the budget, just to see how it's done, other than the way we've always done it, I guess, the way to put it, or the way it's always been done since I've been a commissioner.
Yeah, so we don't need to do anything tonight.
Tonight,
Yeah. Anything else? Thanks for getting the gutters out the courthouse lot.
Yeah.
That's
You
appreciated.
got it.
And then, we've got a few complaints on the small building. So we've got to do.
Yeah, we got to really get some gutters on that. This started bad.
Yeah, I'm talking about the small building.
Oh,
The brick building.
I shouldn't point her. That's in on her. I didn't mean to point you. JJ's working on that.
Okay.
That's part of the roof. But what ain't part of the roof is them doors over there. That was gonna be quoted out before we got the hail damage. And we got set aside till we got done.
Okay.
So really, I don't know, we need to get quotes on it or have JJ give us quotes because the doors are, the termites these much.
I'd say just let's go ahead and get quotes on.
Yeah, let's get that eyesore.
Been about 2 years.
There's and I'm sure there's others, but there's a place called Rustic Creation that builds custom doors, can duplicate what was there, I guess. If you want to put it back original, I would recommend getting a quote from them. One of your quotes. I mean, we want more than that quote.
And at some point, we have to look at the fence around the courthouse too.
It's the back half,
Yeah.
all breaking and all, I mean, it's pretty rough. Especially the back half.
That's all I have. Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Only place I know is it does like a fencing and cliff mats on it.
It's gonna be expensive.
He built the gates, they was pretty.
Yeah, they are.
We can't match the top pieces anymore, so whatever